Okay, so welcome back to Capstone. I got some parts. You should have received an email, so feel free to grab your parts, provided they're from the ones that your team ordered. I will go up once we've finished today and check with the secretary to see if anything has arrived today, but Yvette's pretty good at emailing me when stuff arrives, so, and I haven't received an email from her today yet. Thinking about it. Don't know why Chrome is taking so long. Here we go. So we're going to go to the blackboard. Very slow today. There we go. Yes. Slow. Okay, so there's the list. Let me see if I can make it a bit smaller. So that first, it's a bit hard to see, but the first thing is the drone. That's not here. Sensor pack camera module here, and then I think I've forgotten who was the other. There was a Raspberry Pi cameras and stuff. So do you remember which was which? Camera module was one. Camera module case.
We also have
I think that was your camera module. Yours too. Yeah. Camera module. What else is it? That was yours was the battery. And the dongle. That's the dongle. And where do we go? Rechargeable battery, photoresist. And the other one was the sensor pack, which I think is so you have something. I haven't heard the parking automation order yet, and I haven't heard what's happening with the drone. but it was ordered at the same time these parts. I didn't order the parking automation stuff until a little later. Okay. Really scared at how slow this machine is today, but anyway. So that's where we are. I am expecting, and I think I've seen them come in, I just haven't had a chance to look at the more recent submissions. I'm expecting a draft of your detailed design document today. Right? I will grade it over the weekend so that by Monday morning you should have feedback on it. I think I've already given feedback on at least one submission. But you can submit it as many times as you like. I suggest you don't submit again until I've given you feedback, because I will just ignore everything but the most recent submission. Okay, so be careful with that. The thing that is actually going to be graded for this course is not due for another 2 weeks, that document, right? I wanted you to have a draft of the document for today, because next week you're going to present it. So I wanted to make sure everybody had some feedback before you present what you're going to say. Okay, does that make sense? The actual presentation is one and done. I'm not going to do any retakes of the actual presentation, but the documentation takes a while to get together, and having as much feedback. Please give feedback. Go into Blackboard and give feedback on the 3 documents, 1 document from each team. Several people have already, but several people haven't. So that is part of your peer assessment. So wherever we got to. Right, the peer review. I'm going to get you to do that. There we go. Thinking about it. Right, so the peer review, that's part of this. There's basically going to be 4 pieces of peer review, reviewing each of the documents. And I don't want a detailed, lengthy review. Basically, I just want you to say what are the good points, what needs improvement, and some pointers as to why you think it needs improvement. I'm going to get you to do that same thing again for the final design document at the end of semester. And then I'm also going to get you to give peer feedback after each presentation. Okay, so that's what's going to. And that 15% is just a presence absence. If you put in the feedback, you get the grade. If you don't put in the feedback, you don't get the grade. And there has to be some input, right? You can't just submit the assignment and not actually put in any text. Okay. So again, I don't have much to talk about unless you ask me to talk about stuff. One thing I possibly should talk about, and I'm happy to wing it today or be a bit better prepared in 2 weeks' time, is talking about app development. I've done a reasonable amount of that, so I can maybe help with that. So here are the plans, and I'm plotting, or I'm noting 3 numbers: the schedule performance index, the cost performance index, And the cost performance index is pretty useless at this stage because we're still relatively early on and everything has pretty much been done on time, and I haven't increased the length of any tasks. If any task gets increased, that number is going to go down. If any task gets decreased, that number is going to go up. Up is good. And then the total percentage complete, and I've just, a bit hard to read, but I've plotted those three things. Those three things are in the Microsoft project plan. So SPI means we're behind schedule, right? If it's below 1, and that's largely because I haven't got an update from you this week, right? I've kept the numbers that I had last week and changed the status date to today. So if I take an update, which I will take an update shortly from everybody, that'll improve, as you saw last week. So the home security drone, again, SPI is below 1, so that means we're behind schedule, and I have to figure out what the best place to, or time to order parts is. What I probably should have done is got you to tell me over the summer what parts you need. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. And again, as I said, CPI is the same for all of them, and percentage complete is 67%. I think part of the reason that's higher is because of that big number there. Right? Anyway, and then the smart fridge update looks a little worse, at least in the percentage done. But largely that's because you didn't include semester 1 in your plan, right? So there's that whole tranche of work that you've done, but isn't included in either the SPI or the percent. So this looks way worse than the other two, but it's basically the same as the other two, right? And I put a note there saying that's why it's low, because it starts this semester rather than last semester, or rather than halfway through last semester. One thing I think I should probably do next time I run Capstone 1 is publish a template project plan and start tracking it from maybe about halfway through semester 1. So we'll see how that goes. I'll just put it down here. One of the good things about what I've been doing for you this time around is I've learned a lot more about how to manhandle project to get what I want out of it. So, okay. So that's about it. Let me do this. Let me fire up a desktop and get Microsoft Project running. And I will get you to do your status updates, and we'll see about what else I can help you with. But I'll update the task percentage done and stuff shortly. no matter how fast computers have gotten, they're always too slow for me. I actually built my own computer way back in high school, and that was a whole, I think it was 4 megahertz clock speed, which was a little slow. And it had 53.25K of RAM. 48K was contiguous, and the rest of it was up at the top of memory, and was basically memory mapped video. So you wrote into that memory to do video. Oh, what am I doing? Now the trouble I have is that these are old, I think. Yes, they're old, so I'm going to have to go and get okay. So let's download that. Okay, let's try that. So let's start with the security drone. So I took your updated project plan and got that, so let's see where we are. If you want to give your status update, and I have your up to the first draft of the detailed design doc. Somebody want to talk us through where we are? So
so we wrapped up our detailed design draft last week, and we were kind of just waiting in for our parts to come in so we could start working hands-on on things. As for what we did throughout the week, we were just doing more research things just for prepping. Some of the guys are working on coding, I believe, like Mike will on his application planning. And as for me and Wright, we're just kind of waiting for parts for hands-on topic.
Okay.
So we're just, basically now is when we're picking things up after today.
Okay, so currently we have, so you've got your
First draft, yeah.
first draft done,
Yeah.
and I suppose you've got to review, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did, but it's not completed yet, so
Okay, well we can put that at 50% maybe?
we need to add to it and then finalize it.
Now, so I heard two other tasks there. I heard researching the app, and there was something else, researching the design.
Because I was researching on how to connect sensors to like software after, so how to like hardwire those, but then also combine it. But Mike's working on this app idea to add, because we're gonna have an app for our security system, basically that it runs all through. So that's kind of what we're also researching, things like that, how to add specific features that we wanted to add to it.
Okay. So there's that added. Okay, so you maybe you can't read it, but the SPI has come up to 0.82 and 65%. So I'm going to put 50% on each of those new tasks as well. Right, so research sensor connections, 50%. And there. And actually I've got to put that there to okay, so now we're seeing the cost come into it as well, right? And the reason the cost is coming into it is now there's new tasks that have to be done that weren't planned for. And if you remember, I think it was at the end of the project, 1/3 was unplanned tasks. The stuff that wasn't planned for, and now that's adding to the cost of the project. So the cost performance index is coming down. Okay, so status report. What have you done since last week? What are you going to do before next week? What's stopping you? Okay.
So since last week, we obviously completed and submitted our draft. We did more research regarding app development and as well as our specific hardware components. By next week, we're going to revise the detailed design document based on the feedback that we get. Continue doing more research while we wait for that drawing to come in. And that's really the only thing stopping us right now. It's just the drone coming in. That's obviously the bulk of our project, so we need that before we can really get everything going.
Exactly. Okay. Just the smart fridge team is interested in storing stuff in the back room here. I'm okay with doing that for everybody. The trouble will be I'm only here on campus Friday mornings and Saturday mornings. So I'll have to set it up so that maybe Ken Trotchler and David Broderick know about it. They're more likely to be on campus. I know David's here Monday through Thursday. I think Ken's here just Monday through Friday. The other thing I will try and do, if you need it, is get you access to this. Obviously this lab's used for teaching a lot, so you can't really be in here when there's teaching going on. But there's nothing stopping you being in the back room when there's teaching going on. And there's, outside of hours, you can also be in here. I have to get you special permission to be in here without a lecturer or a professor. but I can do that, and I've got an action item that I need to go and ask the hierarchy what the procedure is, because the procedure changes every time it happens, so I'll have to see what's happening there. Okay, thank you. So hopefully that drone will come in soon, and we can get cracking. But you have everything else you need. It's just a matter, or that you ordered. It's just a matter of what else. Okay, let's go with parking automation. So parking automation.
Yep.
So where are we? We've got we had create design document and create presentation at 50 and 25%. I think that was from last week. So
we're on. Yeah. So we created the design presentation in the document. We're now on. We're still on the practice presentation section. As for the project itself, we have most of the code there. So it's pretty much about putting that in presentable form, finishing that up in the project. That's where we're at right now.
okay, so I'm going to move you on with the create design document a little bit. Let's make it 75%. I don't expect that to be complete for another 2 weeks, right?
Okay.
So the aim was to make sure you have the data so that you can present it next week.
Right.
And I did want a first draft of that by today, so I could give you feedback before next week's presentation, and then the week after that, the updated final detailed design document is due.
I'll send everything out.
Okay. Okay, so that's that. I think. Yeah, so that's bumped your SPI up to 0.95. I haven't added any other tasks, so CPI is going to stay the same. Yeah, I apologise for not getting your order in as early as I should have, but it's in, and I'm hoping it'll be available by early next week, and I can come in and pick it up, or I can get you to pick it up from the Department of Secretary.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Let's save that. And smart fridge. So like I said, I'm really depicting you guys in a really bad light just because the first part is not there. So, but I think you're on about par with the other two groups anyway. It's just I have gone through and added these extra tasks. So in fact that might, remember I said there were several tasks in your plan that had the word "and" in there. That's usually an indication that it needs to be split up into two separate things. Okay, it's alright. And there's another one should be 10 there. So let's have a look. You were also researching the app. Did you come to any conclusion?
Yeah, we're pretty much level on Swift.
Okay. Swift is a really nice language, but yes, it's a bit different from Java or what have you. Okay.
We've also completed the final draft. It's covered by design document.
Okay.
And at least in the future, we should be starting on the presentation basically as soon as possible. And as for bringing everything in, now that we have the parts, it's pretty much done.
I'm going to say the design discussion is done, pretty much. And let's put the bring in pre-owned parts at 50%.
Yeah, we do have our partner here.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's going to be pretty much my car with it.
Okay. And that's, I'm going to say that's 50%, just because I do want to give you feedback, and it's only due. Yeah, not due for another 2 weeks, so I'll put that at 50%. So that's all right. That's brought you up to 0.71, which is much more in the ballpark. Oh, there's a final submission there. Okay. Okay, so sorry, I didn't realise there was a separate final submission for the.
And as for anything solid, there's nothing really.
Okay. I think you got all your parts. Yeah. That's all, everything you want. Okay. Good. Okay. And okay, now the CPIs come in because of those extra tasks, and it hadn't come in before because I hadn't put in the resource. The resource has changed the cost for each new item from 0 to whatever the time times the hourly rate is. So okay. I'm going to talk a little bit quickly about apps, right? So I'm happy to help out with any of the apps. You talked about Swift. Way back when Swift first came out, we decided, the company I was with was building apps, and we decided to, instead of using Objective-C, we decided to use Swift. And it's a really nice language. The trouble was, the Swift standard hadn't been solidified. So every time a new version of the compiler came out, it broke our code, right? And they've gotten better at it now. When a new version of the compiler with a new language version comes out, they've got a converter that auto converts everything, which is nice. So that's a lot less painful than it used to be. The only downside of Swift is that it's iOS only, right? So if you're going to develop for Android, you need to either know Java or Kotlin if you're going to program using Android Studio. Or the thing that I've been using for that silly Come On Down app is there's a thing called Xamarin, which is now part of Microsoft Visual Studio, that lets you write applications, platform-independent applications in C# using Visual Studio. And that's kind of nice. So that So that one there, the showing everybody. That's that was written in C#, and Professor Broderick has the same app on his Android phone, and it's run on basically the same code base. The only time it starts being a little funny is when you've got to do something a bit closer to the hardware. So I'm still in the process of doing this one. This is a thing for tuning the guitar, right? And I don't know whether getting access to the sound doesn't tend to be as platform independent, so you've got to do, it's still C#, but you've got to do platform specific code in either iOS or Android. It's not that hard, but it's a bit more painful. And then that's the other one that I'm currently working on. It's the problem with what I'm working on at the moment is I've been developing it using an emulator on my machine at home, and on my real phone I have dark mode turned on, so all the bright white and everything on the emulator all of a sudden turned all black on my actual phone. So on the emulator it's all black text on my back. That might.
What are your thoughts on React Native?
So that stuff looks really cool. I haven't done much with it. I have done a little bit. I've played with it. That's it. I've run some of the tutorials. Again, way back when, there was a thing called, what was it called? Titanium Studio, Accelerator was the company, and they did something very similar where you wrote your code in JavaScript and then deployed either to Android or iOS. The company I was with got bitten really badly because that company just wasn't with it enough to keep up with either Apple or Google as far as their independent Android or iOS platforms were developing. React is much better. It's a bigger organisation, and it seems to be much better. If you're happy with JavaScript, then that might be a good way to go too. Again, I haven't actually done it for a real app, but I'm happy to have a look at it and to, like I said, I've run some of the tutorials and I've done a bit of fun. So that would be another good cross-platform, platform independent way of developing. Right? So you don't have to do one thing for iOS and something completely different for Android. Okay. So let's just. So the thing that I've been talking about is a thing called Xamarin, Xamarin. Right. It's free. If you've got a Mac, then you can develop with it on a Mac. That's what I do. Obviously, you can't develop an iOS application under Windows, but the same code runs on Windows. You can certainly develop Android under Windows with Xamarin. The one that Michael's talking about is React Native, yeah, Michael? Yeah. So that's this one. And again, the aim is the same, to be able to develop applications in a platform independent way. So there's a very small jump from the code you have to Android, and the same jump from the code you have to iOS. Or as far as Xamarin's concerned, you can also deploy to Windows Phone. Okay, so it's similar sorts of, it's hard to read, but similar sorts of stuff that you would do if you understand how JavaScript works. And then if you're developing stuff natively with I would recommend against going with Objective-C for iOS. Better off, I think, these days starting with Swift. Swift is a really nice language. One of my concerns with JavaScript is that it is an object-oriented language, but it does object orientation differently from Java or C# or Swift. So you've got to be a little bit careful with how that hangs together. There's lots. JavaScript is a hugely popular language, and there's lots of support, which is the nice thing. And as I said, I haven't ever developed anything in Android for using Kotlin, which I believe is now the preferred version, preferred language by Google for developing Android applications. I have developed native Java applications for Android. And part of the reason I migrated to a platform-independent solution is years ago I was developing one application for iOS in Swift and another application for iOS in Java. And the only way we could make sure we were basically keeping the apps in sync, the iOS and the Android app in sync, was using almost exactly the same classes and names and everything between the two. And it sort of felt like double jobbing. The only reason these days I would tend to go with a native solution is if you need something that's a bit bleeding edge or a bit closer to the hardware. The React or Xamarin tends to be a little bit isolated from the hardware, so getting stuff down can be a little problematic. I don't think that's necessarily an issue for any of these projects, either the Smart Fridge or the drone, but just be aware that that could be an issue. Okay. Anything else? Any questions? If you are going to develop an app, make sure you use that GitHub repository. Put it up there. Keep the latest copy up there. I think. Let's see if I can. Find my take a number. Oops. Now, is there a Okay. So you can see I tend to commit early and often. Right, so yesterday I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 commits, and already this morning I've committed 3 times. Found a few bugs. I was playing with the app away from my desk, so I thought I should fix those. Okay, unless there's any other questions, Michael?
So I do have a question about our project. Now, our phone has software for the flight controller, and I was wondering, since you know way more than I do about Apple, is it possible to have it where if I create an app, is it possible to like redirect with the click of a button to that software or flight controller, then I would create an app?
So I'd have to look at, I think you mentioned, is it Libra Pilot or something? Is that the name of the drone control?
Yeah, Libra software.
Yeah.
Libra something.
So the trick will be making sure that the drone and the phone can communicate, whether that's via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or what have you. I think the Wi-Fi is probably the most likely. It'll probably give you a bit more range than Bluetooth, but depends on the type of Bluetooth. Okay. But it's certainly possible to be able to connect from the app to the drone, provided that Wi-Fi connection is there. Okay. One thing you may have to do is, and I don't know whether the drone or the processor you're using on the drone is capable of it, you may have to set up the drone as an access point, and then you connect the phone to that access point's Wi-Fi network in order to be able to control it.
So I was doing research and you did mention that it could act as a hub.
Yeah. That's probably the best one. I know I bought myself a camera a while back, and it has a little Wi-Fi connection. So, but the way it uses it is you turn on the camera's Wi-Fi, and then you've got to get the pictures off, you've got to connect your phone up to that Wi-Fi network, and then it'll transfer the pictures off that. And I think something similar would work.
So in that case, you can't really use any of the Wi-Fi.
You can't, but I mean, your phone can still use the cellular network, right? But you won't be able to use the Wi-Fi. That's correct.
So that's something like that.
Yeah. The trouble with putting the drone on the same network as the app or as the phone is then you have to control the network, right? Because you have to be able to know, the app needs to be able to connect to the drone, so it needs to know the drone's IP address. You can do that. There's a protocol that Apple pioneered called Bonjour that a lot of printers and other peripherals use. And you can set up the Bonjour protocol on the drone to say, hey, I'm a drone, I'm a drone, I'm a drone. And then the app would then set it up to look for a drone using that Bonjour protocol.
It's called what?
Bonjour, B-O-N-J-O-U-R, hello in French. I hadn't come across the protocol in years, and I was trying to set up my my NAS at home to be able to be a time machine backup for my Mac, and my Mac couldn't see the NAS until I had to go to the NAS and turn on its Bonjour protocol so that so my machine could see it, which is kind of fun. But it's a really simple protocol. It's pretty easy to set up. Okay. Any other questions? No. Okay. As usual, I'm going to finish it early then. I suggest writing up your status reports before you leave, and checking on the presentation that you're going to do, and if you've got time to practice it. I'm still not quite sure what the best way to present is going to be. I suspect I'll just have your what do you call it? Presentations